Good evening, SBC. Good evening, SBCC. Good evening to every and all points in between. Welcome to the August 3rd, 2021 edition of SBC Tuesday Talk. And I am your host, Mr. Mike Walker. Glad that you decided to spend your Tuesday evening with us. Thank you so very much, and thank you kindly. And hopefully you enjoy tonight's show. We have a good one tonight. As you can look at the placard right here. Angry women, who's really to blame? Ooh, we don't know how this is going to turn out, though. So I hope everything remains civil and, well, in the groups and everywhere else, though. So, and again, my name is Mike. Glad to have y'all here. And I'm going to introduce to y'all the panelists for tonight. First, we have Tamara. How you doing, Tamara? Glad to have you. That's good. You're looking great today.
Thank you.
And of course, we have our bishop. Bishop, the Archbishop B.L. Foils. Glad to have you. Doing all right, brother? Yeah, he's doing fine. He's doing good. He tickled. Okay. Oh, but y'all know what go behind the scenes. I just tell you. And then we have our guest panelist, and hopefully this won't be her last time being here. We got the evangelist, Tracy Phillips. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Okay, good. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. And well, y'all ready for the night?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, then. They said, hey, Bishop. Okay, let's do it then. First things first. Right here. Angry women. Who's really to blame? Now, this is not trying to promote hatred toward women, especially when we did about a month ago talking about why they hate toward Black women. So definitely not that. But and like I told the panelists right before we got on the air, this is kind of like a housekeeping episode, kind of sort of, where in the groups in the SBC and of course SBCC, there's a lot of angry women there that is going to just shoot straight from the hip on that one. I can't dress it up any way. Not to say that there aren't any angry men in the group. Mm-hmm. You know, we had that share too, but we have plenty of angry women. It seems like they want to categorize all men as sex fiends, womanizers, chauvinists, users, homosexuals, so on and so forth. Okay. And me personally, I don't think it's fair to categorize, well, all men or, do anybody like that just because a few people hurt you. But what is the cause of this? Who's really to blame? Is it their household? Was it the household they were brought up? Was it the environment? Was it hurts that they never recovered from?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the hurts?
Yes.
I don't know. Who wants to start? Who wants to start off, y'all? Let's take the mic.
Well, I mean, you said it right there. Hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. That's counseling 101, hurt people. So when you get people in any male or female in any situation where they're lashing out at the general population because of something they experienced specifically, they're just they're doing that. They're trying to hurt others the way they've been hurt. And they're not healed. And there's a lot of male and female people within these groups. They honestly, to me, they use Facebook as their personal therapist instead of, using it for what it is, which is an entertainment venue. They go in these groups and they're looking for people who will agree with them. And they're looking for people who will be like, oh, yeah, I feel what, And that's not what it's there for.
Yeah. And that's what I call the bitter sisterhood, because they'll share something, and all of the women that can relate to that jump on this bandwagon. Oh no, he didn't. And to your point, I believe that women that are not healed are bitter, and like the scriptures teach, they affect everything around them. So we can see just in these groups how bitterness affects everybody. Men don't even want to, let me use the word, parlay with the women, because they don't know if they're gonna jump out of a bag or what they're gonna do. They don't know, so they just, and I've seen new names, but one guy said, I don't say nothing because I don't want to get jumped on. That's a shame.
It is. Really
that's disheartening, because bitterness has kept these women from even being allowed, from allowing themselves to get past whatever it is, because Taiwan did that. Shawan didn't have nothing to do with it. They don't even know each other.
Exactly.
So yeah, I believe it's deep rooted. It's rooted deep.
I don't necessarily believe it's a blame. I think there are a variety of reasons why some people do. I believe there are some people who are hurt, but I think also the media, society, and the environment plays a huge role, because the depiction of the African American male can be very negative. And so, I don't think that sometimes there's a distortion of reality, or people's experience, their individual truths have become their view, their worldview. And so, but all of them, I don't know, there's some people with the trauma, the scars, the emotion, but there's some people, because it's something, Leslie did a post, she said, Maya Angelou, if we know better, we'll do better. And I think sometimes you hear it so much that it must be true if so many people are saying it. And I think sometimes that bandwagon takes place unconscious and conscious.
And you know what? You bring up a good point about media. And maybe it's just me. And if it is, please correct it, though. I think it probably began in the mid to late 80s, where we had started seeing these really, really bad negative depictions of black men in movies. Once what they were pimps or hustlers in the early 70s, late 80s, mid to late 80s, they're not gangbangers. And they just ushered in this new era of, wow, this is what a black man's supposed to be, and at least back in those, I guess, Superfly days or whatever, I guess the father was still around, I suppose. If you look at James Evans, maybe they didn't have the best, but he was a daddy. He did what he needed to do to keep his family together, but, and you look at George Jefferson. Yes, he had his ways, a bit bigoted, obnoxious, but he did what he needed to do to make a better life for his family. And I want to say something about Fred Sanford, but I don't think I can, though.
But even further along, you had the Cosby Show. You had Family Matters. So even in the 80s, you still had some positive black male role models on television. I personally think, and don't jump on me, but I think a lot of the negative male stereotypes started being ushered in with the rap culture. A lot of that with like you said, the gang banging and glorifying that lifestyle. And then the men, of course, even referring to women as the B word, and that becoming acceptable. And so it turned on its ear, and women also started feeling, just, oh, it's okay to bash men. So I think that it's kind of took place with that. To me, I would say, like, not like the rap culture, which also was, like you said, like the gangbang culture, when that being part of that lifestyle, being, as they say, about that life.
Mm-hmm.
As that started to become popular, I think that bashing each other, men bashing women and women bashing men, started to become acceptable, particularly within the Black community. Because before then, like you were saying, the depiction of Black women were there to support Black men and vice versa. But once you started seeing it in the music and television and the movies, there was no more support. It was about, beating each other up and raping women, and women, taken from the men and doing all this stuff. And like Victor said, it became, the media glorified that. And so women started internalizing it, And I have to say further is that lifestyle became attractive to some women, not all, but to some. So they started seeking men out. Remember, they used to say, they say they want a guy who was a thug, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they would seek out men like that because, oh, those are sexy, but those are the men who would treat them poorly. So then it perpetuated their anger. They got angry because they're being treated poorly by the men they chose.
Exactly.
You chose him.
Exactly.
You didn't want Urkel.
Exactly.
I wanted Urkel, y'all. I thought Urkel was the cutest thing. I'm a nerd lover. So I used to love Urkel, but when, they wanted the gang, and I'm like, but those are the guys who are going to treat you bad, and then you're going to be angry that you're being treated poorly by the men who are going to treat you poorly, because that's what they do. That's what they're talking about in their music and in their movies, and it's just a cycle.
And then it goes back to how we say and post in the group by men, why do y'all want, and sometimes they like to the guys like to generalize as well. Well, why do y'all want these bad boys?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm a decent guy, I go to church, I work, I do this, I take care of my responsibilities. But why do you want a bad boy?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it flips. Why do you want a bad girl?
Exactly. Yep.
And then again, I think that's the problem, though. A difference between a good man, MAN, and a bad boy, BOY.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big difference right there. Tawanda says it could be abuse from their family or a spouse. They hold on to their hurt and they take it out on everyone, blame, shaming, and not seeking help to overcome what they've been through. They will stay broken and bitter, and if they don't work on themselves to seek help to get better, they can't expect good if they keep hurting others. They need help to get past their hurt, anger, and bitterness. Excuse me.
Very true. Very true.
And Shamika says, glad to have you here, Shamika. We are missing out so much on other perspectives when we don't allow the men to speak freely without fear of being bashed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that. And it's good to have a woman to recognize that. It's very good. And that's the problem. And again, this is almost like a housekeeping broadcast. We have a lot of men who are there to seek a woman, to seek a sister for a connection. They are seeking connections, be it friendship or even more than that. They're seeking their helpmeet. Not everyone's looking for their next bedroom conquest. Not everybody's looking for that.
Right.
But when you keep stereotyping, categorizing, grouping all men together just because of your hurt, your bias, your skewed view of the world, then the guys get like, well, what's the point?
Right.
I know I'm a good guy. What's the point? no matter what I say, what I do, they still gonna think I'm a bad guy. I can heal the sick, I can raise the dead, I can feed the multitude with a pack of crackers and a can of sardines. They still will not be convinced that I'm a good guy.
Right.
So there's a lot of hurt. But how do you, and I have to ask y'all this, and y'all think about this while I read these comments. How do you punch through that wall? How do you penetrate that? How do you just get them to sit down and say, hey, all guys aren't like that. Give us a chance. And one other thing, and then that might explain why when there's men only post, and then we say the sisters put it in, the author says men only in all caps, men only.
Yep.
The first comment, a sister
Women.
with those looking eyes, eyes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or this is going to be good, or some type of animated GIF.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do? Y'all think about that while I get this one right here. Shamika says, iron sharpens iron, and we must allow others to be heard and not ridiculed. And you know what, Shamika? That goes for every member. That applies to every member. Everyone has a voice on this panel, in the comment section tonight, and in the groups. Everybody has something to say, be it good, bad, or indifferent, though. Someone has something to say, and we owe it to them to listen. Marie, how you doing? Language such as they and those will continue to separate. We have to work on being rational, loving, and inclusive. Okay. And Wayward Melanie. Now I'm gonna say this first before I read her. She the one came up with this topic tonight. So y'all blame her, okay? I acknowledge there could be many reasons why some women are angry. I think some of it is because some practice bad behavior. The back of the currency by which to measure their worth. We cannot identify as queens and then drape ourselves in victimhood when we get called on it.
That's good.
Ooh,
That's true. Very true.
I hear you.
All
Okay.
right,
And we cannot make others responsible. Ooh, I like that. We cannot make others responsible for our healing. And that applies to everyone right there.
Yes.
And David Chandler, glad to have you here, brother. We need you on this panel one day, so think about it. I think the average woman won't bother no matter how good a man you are. Now let me touch on this. I disagree with that, brother.
Yeah.
I disagree. Now we might need to talk about this in the group though, because I've seen your posts. We might need to have a meeting or something though. But no, the average woman isn't like that. No, definitely not. Just like we're trying to keep men from being grouped up and stereotyped because a woman was hurt by a few, men shouldn't do the same thing as well. They should not do that. You're looking at least two good sisters on this panel right here that that won't do you wrong. And you got some in the comment section that are pretty good women though. So it's not that. No, I understand. Now, it's a time in my 20s I used to feel that way till I had to wise up and get mature and realize it wasn't everyone. So Deja says, so true. Women should exercise self-control when it asks for a men-only response. Yep. And David says, I'm not denying that. Okay. So
Can I say something about the
Yeah,
men?
please.
I see that happen so often, and I just laugh when I see it come through, when, and I realize, to me, what it is that the women who see that, they think it's an opportunity to connect with the men who post. That's why they do the looking eyes, and that's why they do, because what they want is to put themselves, it's a way to put themselves out there, so that the men who do post, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a backwards, instead of, hey, I'm gonna inbox you, I'm gonna hijack your post and you'll see me, and that might be a way for you to connect with me. That I don't know. It's just, when I see it a lot, and I think, okay, these are sometimes women, because it tends to be the same people over and over again. I don't know if y'all noticed that. It tends to be the same people. They're always the ones that hijack. And I think it's their way of kind of backwards introducing themselves, knowing it's a men's only post, but men are going to post on there, right?
Sometimes not.
Yeah, that's true.
They're afraid of what the backlash would be. I mean, that's just like the post that the other night when somebody asked a question, which is what it was, a female, and they wanted to argue with David about his response. They want to always argue with the men about their response, so the men won't even. It's like, can I not have a perspective? You cannot think for me, one, because you're not me, two, you're not a man. So I think when women do that, that is a mechanism of control. I'm going to control the narrative because I need to spin it so that it's beneficial for me. And that's another form of hurt and bitterness. So it's like a bully. A lot of women in this group, and I don't care what nobody say about me in the next post, they're bullies. They're bitter bullies.
Very true.
Of course, I've been called Captain Save a Dude and all this other kind of crap, because I tell people all the time, I have two men. I have a 37-year-old and a 41-year-old. I am an advocate for men. So I'm always defend men. Have men did things to me? Absolutely. That ex-husband, Lord Jesus, but I'm past that. So I don't have to project or take a particular posture towards men, because nobody did what they did to me but Thornton. Nobody did what they did to Thornton but me. So I don't hold on to that. But I just see a bunch of bullying. You didn't answer the way I thought you need to answer, and I need to change the way that you think. Lady, he don't even know you.
I like you, Tamara. You're a girl, right?
I love you too.
All the time.
I think somewhat sometimes what happens is we live in a nation where everyone have a voice. Sometimes we don't realize the impact of our voice, because words are life. We don't realize the magnitude and how our words can affect hearers. Because sometimes we're focused on what we want to get across, but never realizing the impact that it could have on hearers. And I think sometimes I don't think it's not intentional, and it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's just, just happens.
And you know what? And if you look at those comments, some of those sisters can be mean.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I scrolled past. Okay, cool.
I'm talking about those red-nosed pit bull type mean, that you had to put a big thick chain on. I mean, I'm like, dang, they get all harsh and all that. I'm like, well, dang, is it that bad? Then why did you join the group then?
Right.
And what are you looking for? Go ahead.
It's funny you said that, because it's kind of a perpetual, because they join the group to meet someone, and then they're so mean in the group. No one ever wants to meet them. They never get an inbox. They never get a thing. And then they get angrier because, hey, I joined this group and it's got, 10,000, 15,000 singles and no one's reaching out to me. And so they get angrier. not realizing that the reason they're not getting connected is because of the stuff they're saying when they join, in the beginning. It's like, do you not realize that people read your stuff and they're like, oh, I don't want to reach out to her because why would I want to if she's saying all men are bad? And it's the same again. I don't like to generalize at all because I hate using words like all, every, I'm not even most, okay? Because like Sarah said, we're all individuals. But so it's men and women. They hurt people. There's a lot of hurt people everywhere. And the minute you start taking your own personal lived experience and applying it to a general population that, like Daenerys said, don't even know you, and you don't even know, you're already defeated.
Right.
You're already putting yourself in the lowest category of being approachable because people see that. So yeah, I think it's kind of a self-defeating prophecy thing, I'm angry, I can't find anybody, so I'm gonna put it out there, and then I'm still angry because I'm still not finding anybody.
And
The
old saying is, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
Very true.
No matter how you clean it up. Maybe they might give you a second chance though, but they still gonna think about that initial interaction though.
Yeah.
So
very true.
You know what? I want to make a point.
Go ahead.
These same women that are so angry, so mad, those are the very ones that say, I'm praying and I know God's going to send me a man that I can be submissive to.
Now, ain't that nothing? Ain't that nothing?
This is practice.
Ain't that nothing?
That's true.
But I think, like I said, I don't think it's intentional. And I think, they don't really see the behavior. And I think it's been accepted in some places that it doesn't register as being wrong because it's been acceptable by so many that it's like wrong has become right in some people's eyes.
Yeah.
But wrong is subjective. That's the problem. There's no definitive right and wrong anymore in any field, in any area, in any conversation. Everything is subjective. So one person may see wrong as they're all. So if there's no definitive right or wrong, then it leaves that open for what you just said, Victor. That people say, well, it must be okay because it was right to me, and it's the world we live in, really.
And that kind of goes back to their environment. That was reared to, and conditioned to this is right and this is wrong, but, Rebecca Johnson says, to some degree, I think we need to consider the broken nature of Black families as well as the racist culture we were born into. Women are forced to survive in an extreme racist culture without the protection or input of our fathers or husbands. Little girls are brought up in a single households, generally run by single women. These are unhappy environments. These little girls grow up without a proper example set by a man, father, and without input from their fathers on how to choose a future. That's what I'm assuming. And
very true.
And Joyce Scott says, to punch through the wall, if you feel bitter, pray for God to mature you in the qualities to be the match for the man who is your match, and be open for him to show you how to listen and learn about men from men and their value. Staying bitter is the comfort zone. Learning a new way to connect is the growth zone.
That's very true, Joy. Yeah.
But it's something Joy said in that it's the subtlety of listening. I don't know if often that we as people, not just our particular ethnic group, really listen within ourselves to hear the cry that's in our people. it's like we used to say in the 60s, brother and sister, and it's like we don't really have that. We've lost that sense of connection because there's certain things you're not going to do when you realize you're part of a family.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. When you realize that we all in this together, we shouldn't treat each other like dogs and fight like cats and dogs.
Yeah.
We fight amongst ourselves when we really need to be, you see, this unifying,
Mm-hmm.
and gender bashing on both ends, that's very counterproductive.
Yeah.
And also Joy says, also participate in the after party after Tuesday Talk and the Saturday night social. Yes.
Shameless plug, Joy.
Yes. And Marie says, question, have direct personal conversations been had with the women in question who are deemed angry about their position or responses? I have not communicate with them. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I want to communicate with them. Because if I believe if I communicate with them, then I will become angry and bitter and inundate them with Sunday school words. So no, I have not talked to them. Okay. So I mean that's a good idea, but you know what? I'm glad you asked that though. Maybe invite them to be a panelist. Come to a Saturday night social. Come to the after party. And you know what? Well, I'm about to rant and rave, so y'all sit back. And you know what? And that's the thing that bothers me right there. They complain. Well, we have so many avenues for them to express their concerns. If they're so bitter toward the guys, well, come to the after parties. Express yourself. Watch the shows. Comment in the comment section. And again, like I just said, be a panelist. I just think people complain as though they're going to win a prize for it or something like that. I think that's all their life is. I think they're so used to complaining that they'll probably be shocked if things actually go well in their life. That's what I believe. I think they take some type of twisted pleasure out of complaining, though. Ooh, we got a lot of folks.
But Mike, going to something you said about a question about the direct. I guess I've seen, and Tamara probably can attest to it best, because she's had. I see a lot of interactions that she may have with someone, and it don't be any changing. I mean, they'll be like, she'll may mention something about, and they go at her like swinging, duking, and stuff like that. And you be like, you sit there, you be like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. Because at some point, if we're living epistles, when I read that book, when you see the post, you be like, wow, that's amazing. And it's like there's that apathy, there's no change with it. And it's like, it's sad because it's like at some point as a believer, even in the form of godliness, you would think that there would be some level of remorse, and sometimes it's not that.
But the hurt or the belief system is so entrenched. The other comment that came up about young women growing up in homes. I remember I've got many years working with inner city kids and in that environment. And I used to do like big brother, big sister. I was a big sister for many years as well. And one of the things I saw perpetually were young girls, 13, 14 years old, growing up in homes with their mothers and their grandmothers. No men around at all. And all they heard from their mothers and their grandmothers were how bad the men were. The father or the he ain't nothing but this, or he ain't nothing but that. And so you're talking about 18 plus years of growing up in an environment where every other woman that's around you is bashing men. So it may not even be personal hurt that maybe they have, but it also may be just believing that what they're hearing and internalizing what they're hearing from their, maternal figures. So when they go out in the world, I used to have girls say, "Oh, I can't wait to have a baby." And I would say, "Well, what about a husband?" "I don't need a man." And they were 13 years old. "My mama didn't have one. My grandma don't have one. I just want to have a baby." And that was my whole job, was to talk to them about relationships and dating and all that. But that broke my heart, because I said, how can one conversation on Facebook with someone who can see what's going on fight against what could be upwards of 20 plus years of generational bashing? That generational bashing, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
And David says, here's what I have shared with Tamara. The majority of women expect men to be like the ones they have dated, i.e. con men, liars, manipulators, and unintelligent. And as long as they have swag, she will give him her all. When it doesn't work out, it becomes easy to say men are. But us brothers fall prey to that as well, too. If she, if she looks good. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but okay, I see a couple challenges with what's there. First, the majority of women. That they're saying a majority of women is generalizing. I don't know a majority of men. I can't imagine that David knows a majority of women. So when you say a majority of women, it automatically puts all women on the defensive. This is exactly what women are doing in the group. They're bashing by using those general terms. And then the other assumption is that we've dated men, con men. I've never dated anyone who was a con man, a manipulator, unintelligent, okay? Just because the relationship didn't work out, it wasn't because he was any of those things. We just didn't connect. So it's making those generalizations. And then if you really believe that, how are you going to open yourself up to someone who is good? This is for women because these are the posts that women do, right? It's the same thing, saying most, every, majority, all men are A, B, C, D. You gotta realize it's sad. It's sad. You got to open yourself up to the individual conversations, the individual people. And you asked Mike earlier how to punch through this thing. And I think that's what it is. Individual conversations, because that's the only way that mindset is going to be changed.
And one of the things, Mike, there's a comment that David did say at 8:4. He said, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come off negative. And he was kind of trying to explain himself and express, the sorrow and was apologetic, for what could appear to have been seemingly being bitter. And I know recently I saw a post where he was getting, I think Tamara alluded to it, he was getting drugged real bad. To the degree that I was like, hey, family, because it was early in the morning too. You're like, oh my God, we wake up like this, But I think sometimes, and even to those people, this is happening at an unconscious level. People don't see what they're saying. We are no longer acting as if we're related, and we don't see ourselves in the other person. And so when that happens, there's the lack of mercy, there's the lack of apathy and empathy that takes place. And it's like, so I just don't think it's all intentional. It's people are influenced by a lot of different factors, and you could get, the media, then you can get the friends, you could get whatever, and all that stuff come together, and it can, put all the ingredients together, and it can form something. And I think that's what happens. It forms something. Yes, the person has a level of choice with it, but you can't negate those influencing components. That's why they do commercials, to get you to buy stuff, subliminal messages. It's the same thing that happens in life.
Very true.
And to read David, with the comment you alluded to, I am sorry. I don't mean to come off as as negative or mean, but I've seen a lot of angry women, and they have said things to me just because I said something that had nothing to do with them. Yeah, we've witnessed it. Trust me, we have witnessed it. And my apologies for seeming to be bitter. Apology accepted.
Yes.
And you know, let me say this now. I've been knowing David for about 10 years. I know, yeah. And so when people say things about him, you know, I just wait for him to come to me personally, because I know it's coming, because he's made to feel a particular way, and you know, and it's not fair. So I think, like I said to somebody, I said, when he's ready, things will go a different way. Or I even told another lady, why don't you ask him how he feels, since you're saying that, I know who you talked about. Why don't you go to him and ask him how he feels, as opposed to assuming that he hates women? David doesn't hate women. He sure don't hate to me. Do you hate me, David? But he's. I think when people see things that are being said, you develop preconceived notions, and that kind of kills it, no matter what it is. So he's scrutinized and under the attack whenever he says anything. It goes into attack mode, because he's and plus I tell David this, and I just get a little frustrated, because it's like he puts himself out there for them to attack him, because he wants to be honest. Sometimes I wish he wasn't so honest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to read this. Marie says, Mike, I think it would be a good idea to invite those with opposing views and / deemed angry to be part of a panel or Zoom meeting, not to right a wrong or convert anyone, but to gain understanding. Well, to answer that, and I know you usually be there sometimes, Marie, but we put it out there. We tell them, we put the invite up there. I just got into it with a woman who accused me of not inviting everybody to the after parties and the Saturday night social.
Are you serious?
How do you do that? How do you not? You put it on the group. It's in the group. Okay.
Yeah.
She wanted a personal invitation.
And that's
no. I think they probably didn't see. I saw what you were talking about, Mike, with that conversation. I think sometimes people don't see it, and because I don't see it, that's where that blame goes, that you didn't do it, opposed to I didn't see it.
Right. Wow.
Yep.
But you get a notification when he drops the link.
No, the notification goes out on the site. Whether or not the person pays attention to it is a different story.
Yeah, that's a different story right there. That's definitely a different story. It's nothing we can do. That's the only thing I can say is this. We put it out there. That's the only thing we can do. So, and well, folks.
Victor just said something that I think just really bears repeating, and that is blaming someone else instead of looking at yourself. That's what that person did. Instead of saying, hey, I didn't see it, it must be you did it. And when you get in that habit as an adult, as anyone really, of instead of looking at yourself and saying that, hey, maybe I didn't see it or I did something, then you're already cut off from being part of the larger society, because you're always going to be looking to put the blame on someone else. I think that's important.
Okay, folks, this is our last topic for the night. I enjoyed this one, but we got a quick one. And as you know, COVID-19, it's that relative that spent the night and said they were going to leave in the morning. And 18 months later, they still eating up all your groceries. Yeah, you hear the siren going. See, that's what I'm saying. The question is, I'm going to jump to the point right here because we have this nation is becoming split into yet another set of factions. Vax and anti-vax. Those who support vaccines and those who don't support vaccines. So, since this is a singles group, the question for that is vaccination status. Does it matter to you in regards to dating? What say you? Would it matter to you if the person showed interest in you and they tell you that, they're not vaccinated, or maybe you may be not vaccinated? What are your thoughts on this? Should vaccination status affect relationships?
It wouldn't, as far as me, because
Mhm.
I'm vaccinated.
It doesn't bother me either. Everyone does what they want to do. So,
I'm a little different.
No, really?
In the people entitled, I believe people have the right to do and govern themselves how they see fit for their life. So I don't bash anyone on either spectrum.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not going to be in close quarters with anyone that is not vaccinated. And even if people are vaccinated, because right now with this Delta variant, you just don't know what's what.
I was going to say,
I'm very precocious. Even though I've been vaccinated, I'm very precocious. I've told close friends, I don't go over 3 people right now that I would be in the environment with. I ain't taking a chance. And those 3 are 3 that I know their lifestyle, their daily activities and stuff like that, and how they are in safeguards and stuff like that. But that's my personal belief for me, And so I remember a couple of times I was invited. Different women were wanted to go out, and one of them, it was before I was vaccinated, and she was vaccinated, but I explained I'm not vaccinated. And I remember last year there was someone that wanted to meet, and I made it clear, no, not happening. And I think the first person who did it, I graciously excused myself or exited myself from all interactions with the person. I explained it to her, and I exit for my personal beliefs. I exit everything.
Well, I'm 180 degrees different. I dated during COVID. I went out on dates during COVID. I went and did. I didn't. My life didn't significantly change, other than not traveling as much. But I took 8 trips during COVID. I ain't gonna lie, international and local and within the country. I did the math. I didn't count them up until just a couple months ago, and I was like, dang, I did take 8 trips between March of 2020 and February of 2021. And as far as the vaccines is that, look, I ain't leaving here until God takes me home. Not 1 second before. And I personally, this is my opinion. I respect everyone else's opinion. And if somebody doesn't want to be around me because of, my belief, I respect that. And I'm like, hey, no worries. I'm good. But I just personally chose to live life instead of being afraid of death. So I've seen my friends, I've gone out, and I have never, I believe, ironically enough, I had COVID before it was COVID. I traveled to Europe and I took a cruise back to back in November of 2019. And when I came home from the second trip, the day after I got home, I was laid up on my couch. I could barely breathe, everything. Didn't know what it was. Thought I had just caught a flu, went to the doctor. They took the flu test. She came back. She goes, "You don't have the flu." I said, "Oh, okay, great. So I don't have a virus. It must be back." She goes, "Oh, no, you have a virus." And I was like, and she said, "You have a virus from another country." Those were her. This was November 2019. I looked at her like, what does that mean? She said, "There are viruses from other countries that you can get that we don't have a vaccine for here in the United States." So she gave me all these medicines. I came home. I laid on my couch for about a week, took the medicines, took a picture of the medicines just to have. And 6 months later, when COVID was hit, people were posting what they were taking, and it was prednisone, the coughs. All 5 medicines I was on was exact medicines that they were giving for COVID. So I went and got an antibody test, and yes, I had the COVID antibody. So I had it in November 2019. But I haven't been sick yet since, personally. But like I said, as far as social distancing, not dating, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to live my life and enjoy it for as long as I'm here for. I could go out and get hit by a car tomorrow. COVID ain't got nothing to do with that. Only God. And I trust him. So.
And that's true. I mean, and I don't even know if I should touch on this, though. Then there's the fear of the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
We eat. Well, never mind. I don't even feel like getting into that, though. I get.
When we were little, what we were vaccinated?
Tamara.
Okay.
No.
I want to hear what she's gonna say. We got 3 minutes. I want Tamara to say what she was gonna say.
The MMR shots, measles, mumps, and rubella, and smallpox. We did all that, and and then when they came out with the polio vaccine, it was 2 of them. Just like we got multiple COVID, it was Jonas Salk, and there was another one before him, though. But we took it, though. But
they weren't FDA approved.
No.
But they want to listen to conspiracy nuts, and
right.
And it's sad. Mind is a terrible thing to waste, though. And you see people who are intelligent, go along with that. Okay, never mind. Let me see. I played tennis during COVID. I never contracted it. Yes, I have been tested multiple times, got vaccinated to stop my PCP from bugging me. Okay. I get you though. So, and for me to answer my own question, it does. It matters a whole lot, And like Tracy, hey, I want to go out and have some fun. I definitely want to have my fun. And I hope this doesn't offend anybody out there that's watching, though. But I want to see your credentials as well. I want to see if have you taken those shots? Not to say that it's a magic bullet that will be safe, but I just want to see you doing your part. That's my 2 cents, though. So and folks, we're out of time. Wait, Tracy. Now you said we got 3 minutes. Now you the one counting us down. So
we're down to 30 seconds. So yeah.
No. But we had a great time. I enjoyed this one. Let me get with these announcements. Always have a hard time finding the announcements, though. Join us next in about maybe 15 minutes after the hour, for an after party. We may continue this discussion about what we talked about bitter people, hurt people, or the COVID-19 vaccine, or we might be talking about monkeys. You don't know what we might be talking about, though. So come in and join us, okay? And also this Saturday, the Saturday Night Social, the virtual speed dating. Yes, we're going to have, this is going to be a Zoom session. Go to the event on the fan page, and plus it's pinned on the top of the group, and just let us know if you're going to be there. And we're going to try to have a registration form. Well, we do have it, though. Facebook just won't let me give y'all the link, though. So if you show up at the after party tonight, I'll post the link there. So, okay. So other than that, glad to have y'all. Thank you, Tamara, Victor, and Tracy. I hope you be back again, though. And thank you all for watching us, and thank you for being here. We had a good time, and then Lord willing, we'll see you next week, okay?
Bye-bye.
Y'all take care.
Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. You know, a lot of my brothers are dead and gone, but they've been hanging on the block a little too long. What can I say? I hope they live to see a brighter day. And the ones that are doing fine, God bless you, 'cause you're doing fine. At the end of the day, don't forget about me. As days turn to weeks, and weeks turn to years, oh, I feel for my brother. And as time passes by, I see you're not satisfied. Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. The street life used to be on, straight up hustling till the break of dawn. Taught me how to do wrong right, everything inside. But somehow things started to change. Try to get us straight up out of the game. You couldn't see what I saw. The empire was starting to fall, and everything that I said never seemed to get into your head. I tried to